Picture this. You and everyone you know, all your friends, your family, the entire human race, could fit inside a single football stadium. Sounds crazy, right? Well, around 70,000 years ago, that's exactly how close we came to disappearing forever. This wasn't a movie plot. It was a real-life apocalypse. And it all started with a single, colossal explosion that plunged the world into darkness. This event was so catastrophic, it left a permanent scar not just on our planet, but on the very DNA of every human alive today. We are all descendants of the handful of survivors from this near-extinction event. So, what happened? How did our ancestors manage to survive against all odds? Stick around, because the story of our survival is more dramatic and unbelievable than you could ever imagine. It all goes back to a place in modern-day Indonesia, on the island of Sumatra. Today, it's a beautiful, serene location, home to the largest volcanic lake in the world, Lake Toba. But 70,000 years ago, this tranquil spot was the epicenter of one of the most violent events in the last 2 million years of Earth's history. The ground shook, split open, and the Toba supervolcano erupted with a force thousands of times more powerful than any volcanic eruption in recorded history. Imagine the most powerful nuclear bomb ever detonated, then multiply that by tens of thousands. That's the scale we're talking about. The eruption was so massive it's classified as a V8, the highest possible rating on the Volcanic Explosivity Index. It blasted nearly 3,000 cubic kilometers of rock, ash, and magma into the atmosphere. To put that into perspective, that's enough material to bury the entire state of Texas under several feet of ash. The immediate aftermath was terrifying. A pyroclastic flow, a superheated cloud of gas and debris moving at hundreds of miles per hour, would have incinerated everything within a massive radius. But the local destruction was just the beginning. The real catastrophe was global. The sheer volume of ash and sulfur dioxide shot into the stratosphere blocked out the sun, casting a dark, gloomy pall over the entire planet. Global temperatures plummeted by as much as 15 degrees Celsius, triggering a volcanic winter that lasted for years, possibly even a decade. This sudden, drastic climate change accelerated the planet into a full-blown ice age that would grip the Earth for the next 1,000 years. Rain became acid rain, poisoning water sources and killing off vast swaths of vegetation. The food chain collapsed. Plants died, the animals that fed on them starved, and the predators that hunted those animals followed suit. For the small, scattered populations of early humans living at the time, this was an unprecedented disaster. Our ancestors, Homo sapiens, were still a relatively new species on the block. They had spread out of Africa and were making their way across Asia, living in small hunter-gatherer groups. Suddenly, their world was turned upside down. The skies were dark, the air was toxic, and the land they relied on for food became barren and frozen. It was a brutal test of survival, and most did not make it. Genetic studies of modern human DNA have revealed something astonishing. If you trace our ancestry back, you'll find that all Nan-Africans descend from a very small group of founders. And even within Africa, genetic diversity shows a dramatic reduction around this exact time. This suggests that the global human population crashed. Scientists call this a population bottleneck. Imagine a bottle full of diverse marbles representing the genetic diversity of early humans. The Toba eruption tipped that bottle over, and only a few marbles managed to squeeze through the narrow neck. Those few marbles, a tiny fraction of the original population, became the ancestors of all of us. The total number of breeding individuals might have dropped to as low as a few thousand people. Some estimates are even more dramatic, suggesting as few as 1,000 breeding pairs were left on the entire planet. Think about that for a moment. The entire future of humanity rested on the shoulders of a group small enough to be a village. So here's a question for you to think about. If you were one of those survivors facing a dark frozen world with scarce food and constant danger, what do you think would be the single most important skill or quality to have for survival? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Would it be the ability to make better tools, social cooperation, or just pure luck? It's fascinating to consider what traits allowed our ancestors to pull through. How did they do it? How did these small, isolated groups of humans survive when so many other species were wiped out? The answer lies in our greatest strengths, our intelligence, our adaptability, and our ability to cooperate. The survivors likely retreated to coastal areas or sheltered river valleys, places where marine life or hardy plants might have provided a last resort for food. They would have needed to be incredibly resourceful. They would have perfected their hunting techniques, developed new tools to cope with the harsh conditions, and perhaps most importantly, they would have relied on each other. Social bonds, sharing knowledge, and working together would have been the key to weathering the long volcanic winter. These groups would have been tight-knit, every member contributing to the survival of the whole. They shared fire for warmth, stories for hope, and strategies for finding the next meal. This theory, known as the Toba catastrophe theory, is still debated among scientists, but the genetic evidence is compelling. The bottleneck is written in our DNA. It explains why humans, compared to other great apes like chimpanzees, have surprisingly low genetic diversity. We are all incredibly closely related because we all descend from that small band of Toba survivors. This event may have also accelerated our evolution. With such a small population, any beneficial genetic mutations could spread rapidly. Perhaps the intense pressure to survive favored individuals who were smarter, more communicative, or better at problem solving. It's possible that the crucible of the Toba winter helped forge the modern human mind. The survivors who clung on in Africa were likely better off than those who had ventured into Asia, where the volcanic ashfall was thickest. And it's from these African populations that, once the climate began to recover, a new wave of migration began. Armed with the resilience and ingenuity forged in the shadow of Toba, our ancestors once again spread out to populate the rest of the world. They were tougher, smarter, and more cooperative than ever before. Every continent they reached, they adapted and thrived, from the frozen tundras of the north to the remote islands of the Pacific. So when you look at the 7 billion people on Earth today, in all our wonderful diversity, remember that we are all part of one incredible story. A story of near extinction and epic survival. We are the descendants of a handful of people who stared into the abyss of a volcanic winter and refused to give up. The eruption of Toba was a reminder of the awesome, destructive power of nature. But the survival of humanity is a testament to the even greater power of resilience, ingenuity, and community. The next time you look up at a clear blue sky, take a moment to appreciate it. Because for our ancestors, a clear sky was a luxury they didn't see for years. Our very existence is a miracle, built on the courage of those who survived the darkest winter our species has ever known. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as mind-blowing as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into our incredible past. See you in the next video.